Yeah, quite a varied background, and I think what's really interesting about that is I put it all into my little brain and then get to make really cool stuff. So Manners Park was founded by acclaimed British filmmaker Sir Steve McQueen and is purpose-built to tell socially and culturally transformative narratives. So we are focusing on underrepresented talent. So at the moment I'm building the department from the ground up, which is really insane because I'm like, why am I doing this? So we've got 5 directors on our roster at the moment. We're currently working with Canon on a branded entertainment, 2 short films. So I purposefully pitched to Canon, hey, there's a gap in your market. You are a Canon photography sort of revered product, but what about film? And they were like, yeah, you're right actually. And I was like, well, we're an acclaimed award-winning, BAFTA award-winning, Oscar award-winning film company. Why don't we partner? And I can then give an opportunity for my young talent to get more work on their reel, and then they can also get the credibility of affiliation through our brand. And they were like, that's a pretty good idea. I was like, thank you. So I think ideation comes in many ways, and you can be a creative copywriter, art director, film director. Obviously I work in new business, so it's a very different type of creativity that I bring to this part of the industry. Very analytical, freakishly so. So there are a lot of stats in this deck, but I thought, why not show you a piece of work first so you can kind of see a bit of the Manners Park vibe.
I refuse to get stuck in the cycle. Maybe I can be that tiny drop of inspiration, flowing into a stream that transforms into a wave. Running around in circles made of opinions, doubt, hate. Some people spend their whole lives waiting for the winds to change. But why wait for the wave when you can create it with your next step? Sometimes the tide brings new ideas and opportunities that make you realize you don't have to have that much in common to build a community. I guess it's a choice to get stuck in the cycle or flow into a stream that transforms into a wave.
So this is a trailer that went onto Channel 4, Black to Front, which was a new campaign and initiative to show underrepresented talent on screen and off screen. This was the trailer to a 4-chapter branded content series that we've made directly with Nike and Pata. Took us 8 months in total from creative conception through to delivery. It was directed by Mahanila, who's over in New York. She's a multidisciplinary artist, and it was directed by Steve McQueen. So that's pretty cool. So what I find really interesting is this kind of stat stuff. And in 2008, 18.8 billion was spent on all forms of advertising across the UK. So how much of that can you remember? Probably not a lot because it's 14 years ago. But back then, 4% was remembered favourably, 7% was remembered negatively, and 89% wasn't remembered at all. So I think what's really interesting is in order to create impact, in order to, you don't have to be liked. You just have to be memorable. So Bill Bernbach said, if no one notices you, your advertising, everything else is academic. So yeah, roughly 17 billion was wasted on advertising that no one noticed. Of course, everyone wants to be in the 4% that everyone likes, but don't forget being liked isn't the job. In a massively over-communicated society, being noticed is the job. So if we jump to 2021, which had a record of 31.9 billion spent on commercials and other types of advertising, mainly by Meta and Google, obviously. And if we apply that same principle, that's about 28.3 billion worth of creativity that is going down the drain. Adios, bye creativity. So what I'm here to do today is dissect creativity and a creative brief. And how do we do that? So, one, you've got to read between the lines. I think what's really interesting about the exercise that you've just done with Jack and Connor is they've given you a why. Like, why do we need to make this stuff? And then also inspiration. What kind of platform do we need to put it on? So you need to understand context. Why is this product being sold? Why is this brand trying to tell this message? To sell more products, you're excited. It's to excite. To install brand purpose is to inspire. To create more awareness is to introduce. And to create brand loyalty is to retain. So you're obviously trying to hit one of these key pillars. And I think what's really interesting about what the boys said is, you know, if you're creating quite weird and wonderful things, you're going to hit quite a few of those pillars all at the same time. And coming back to that stat, you know, it'll be really memorable as well if you're doing something a bit out there than if you're doing something quite obvious and recognizable. So, number 2, understand your audience. Who's your demographic? Who are you trying to reach? What will resonate with this audience? You know, is it a 5-year-old? Is it a 25-year-old? Is it a 95-year-old? How do you break the mold and do something unexpected? You know, I think we have really key archetypes in the commercial space that need to be broken because, you know, strategy and what we do in terms of like coupling people and groups and demographics is actually quite archaic, and we have evolved so much. You know, a 32-year-old mother who's single living in Hull could be very different to a 32-year-old mother living in London. Their aspirations, what do they want out of the world, you know, and it's really about tapping into those insights and then creating something with nuance that's going to make something impactful. So, 3, you've got to understand the structure. And I'm speaking specifically for like a commercial because we've kind of done the creative side. We've now got a brief and we're really trying to unpack that brief and like, okay, cool. So what we're making here is it something like with a narrative arc. How long do we have to inspire people? Do we want to excite them? Do we want to engage your audience? Do we want to make them feel sick at the end of it? Like, what is it that we're trying to do? As I said before, is it an active arc or a series of vignettes? You know, is there a strong VO or music or both? Like, really start to build this world and understand from that brief, okay, pulling out these plots, asking these questions to yourself, and then create a formula. A plus C equals B. We're going to start with, you know, something sad, then something happy, then something crazy. I don't know. The formula can change every single time, but I think you just need to ask yourself these questions to start like embedding in that kind of structure. Because you can only have like, what, 10 seconds sometimes? 20? 30? Same rules apply. So yeah. 4, where can you embellish an idea? Particularly for directors. Everywhere. I mean, the whole point is that creative teams partner with film directors to create some magic and, you know, adding nuance to stories, creating moments that resonate, excite, and even disgust. Lean on your experiences to bring something authentic to the screen. Do something wild and unexpected. You know, I think always go a bit off piece, and I really love what you said about the IKEA idea about using an edible crayon to write on bread. So random. And I think that's really interesting because you're still listening and applying yourself to the brief, but you're going left of field to kind of achieve it. So as film directors, like, I think the best success rate I've had is when a director goes, yes, 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 regurgitates the brief, but then goes, but how about this? And we twist this small thing here and there. You know, we're not changing the whole thing, because then it's like these creators have spent 6 to 8 months developing an idea, and you basically put 2 fingers up and said, well, I think my idea is better. And sometimes it might be, but I think the integrity of what you're trying to do here is collaborate, and the only way to do that properly is by listening to the people that are coming to you first and foremost with the original concept. So, treatment structure. This might not be helpful for some of you, it might be, I don't know. But these are kind of the key points that we try and hit as a production company to respond to a creative brief.
No, I wanted you in my picture. Go back, go back.
So introduction, tone and approach, cinematography, all really, really key things that you need to be able to understand as a director. You'll develop these with a DP, of course. You'll develop these with a producer, but you need to understand your visual language, and hopefully as you progress throughout your careers, you'll be able to define something that you feel is ownable to yourself. You know, whether it's heavy transitions, whether it's a comedic style, you know, you've just got to be able to really understand your brand, because that's what people are buying into. Having a common thread throughout your work is always something that people will be able to lean into as well, because they can trust that you can do it over and over again. You can reshape and reform that, but it's about people being able to trust that you can deliver again and again. That's why it's a lot harder for younger directors or people trying to break into the commercial space, because you've got millions of pounds, you've got clients, you've got creatives, and everyone else that you're trying to kind of manage, and they just want to know that they'll be in safe hands. So at the beginning of your careers, it's good to kind of really understand holistically, okay, who am I? What are the kind of messages that I'm trying to say? Where am I trying to go with my career? So the script, breakdowns, like break it down line by line, you know, what's happening? I want to see on paper, I want to be able to visualize what I'm reading. And we'll always have a great skeleton of that concept, but it's about adding those little embellishments and those like little notes that are going to really bring this concept to life. Casting, I mean, look, I'm looking around this room, I might be the only brown girl in here. So, like, you know, think about that. Okay, girl. Oh, yeah. Shit. I forgot. Sorry. Migos rapper. So, that is quite interesting. Like, casting and being able to show representation on screen and behind the camera is super, super important. And one of the mandates at Lammers Park is we've got to have that authenticity. Like, we don't want to see tons of black people on screen and then no one behind the camera looking like our talent, you know? I just don't think that's the way that we do it. And flip side, like, it's not about, you know, minimizing the white experience at all, but it's about how can we ensure that we're showing full representation of communities. So, locations, again, like, you know, this is an in-depth document. Sometimes I only have 24 to 48 hours to produce one of these with my directors, and it's hardcore. And I'm going to show you some examples of what I've been able to turn around in that time. And you'll be surprised what you can think of in such a short amount of time. I mean, your ideas were amazing from that exercise. But yeah, locations, it's a nice to have, but you might not know at this early stage where you want to be setting these things. So yeah, this is more for a, you know, if you've got over a week to create a treatment, that's like a godsend, but it never really ever happens. Edit, what's your pace going to be like? You know, is it going to ebb and flow? Is it going to be super quick cuts? I think, you know, that's also going to be determined by the music and the sound. How are you going to be creating like a sensorial experience? It's not just about what you're seeing on picture, it's about the whole experience. So if you're able to create a world and then give that to the creatives to then go pitch that into their client, you've done a good job. So, this is for an airplane brand, you'd never guess. I've blocked out, but it's an actual move, so yeah, it's for British Airways. And these are just like some examples of treatment layouts. It's actually really offending me, all of these black boxes, now that they've kind of shifted out of the way. But it's just to kind of show the kind of level of detail and also design that goes into a treatment as well, and like the industry standard. What's even better is if you can do an interactive treatment, because I love being able to get moving image into something obviously that is built to show moving image. So I'm gonna flick through this. This is something that we did for Nike. It's gonna be like a 7 or 8 minute doc. This chick, Satu Sabli, she's an amazing NBA basketball player. We built this in literally 30 hours, written and everything from the creative pool. So I work really collaboratively with the director. You know, they get down most of it, and then I'll fluff it up in some way. Just making sure that we're really hitting those key points from what I said earlier about demographic, about tone, about, you know, nuance. So yeah, it's like a 32 page document, so I just wanted to flick through so you kind of have an idea. Something that I also like to do is if a brief isn't that secure and you don't really have like a beat by beat of what's happening, to do a visual toolkit. So leaning on vignettes or leaning on certain techniques that you know that you'd be able to put in structurally at different points to hit different things. Shit, right, we've gotta go. Okay, so couple more minutes and I'll be done. And also an audio toolkit. Like this was going to be like a 7-minute doc, so for us actually an audio toolkit could have been really, really helpful. Is it going to be narration? Is it going to be Foley? Is it going to be like, you know, subtitles? Is it going to be multitudes of different languages? And then that way it kind of doesn't like anchor you or wedge you to like a specific idea. It allows collaboration again back with the agency, especially if you've only been given like 24, 48 hours to do something. You're like, well, here are all of my ideas. Why don't we refine together? Let's find a happy medium. So yeah, it goes on. Like it's a fucking big deck, excuse my language, but it's huge, and we put a lot of effort into this. And also the cut downs and, you know, everything. But yeah, it was just to kind of show you very quickly and succinctly the kind of stuff that goes into the production side of creativity and ideation, and also like, yeah, hopefully that was very helpful. I hope it was, and you know, we've got to get out of here in about 5 minutes, but please do shout if you've got any questions.
That we were able to hear kind of from the creative and the production company together. So in the short time we have, and then we'll clean up our space. Everybody who brought a chair in, we're going to take them back out and reset that room out there.
Thank you.
What would you say the key to a positive partnership between